Hello and welcome to our pre-service training. This training is required by minimum standard of state of Texas and licensing. This training is required for the ones who has no experience working in childcare and or need a refresher. Congratulations. Now that you're part of our team, we would like you to have your pre-service training. A pre-service training should be viewed as a support to the caregiver who has taken on the responsibility of caring for children for the very first time. Research indicates without some basic understanding of children and how to work with them, the health, safety, and well-being of the children in care will be and is at risk without this training. This particular page was taken straight from the minimum standard of state of Texas. For any questions on this, you can always refer to minimum standard copy, which is available to you in your break room, or speak to your director. The topics that today you'll be covering in pre-service training is developmental stages of children, age-appropriate activities for children, positive guidance and discipline of children, fostering children's self-esteem, supervision and safety practices in the care of children, positive interaction with children, and preventing, controlling the spread of communicable diseases, as well as including immunizations, recognizing and preventing shaken baby syndrome and abusive head trauma, understanding and using safe sleep practices and preventing sudden infant death syndrome, understanding early childhood brain development. Children's experiences in their first 5 years have been shown to have a significant impact on their developmental outcomes later on. As a result, it is important for parents as well as childcare providers and those who work with children to understand exactly what happens during these early stages of development. This allows them to meet a child's need effectively and ensure that they have the best start in their life. Developmental stages of children. What are the 5 stages of child development? Newborn, which is 0 to 3 months, infant, 3 to 12 months, toddler, 1 to 3 years, and a preschool age, 3 to 4 years. A school age would be considered 4 to 5 years. Development describes the way a child grows, changes, and develops skills, not only physically, but also socially, emotionally, cognitively, and communicatively. At each of these stages, children reach different milestones, also known as characteristics of a stage. In the next section, we will describe what these milestones are, giving you a general idea of the rate at which children progress. What are the characteristics of child development stages? At each stage of development, children gain skills in 4 main domains. These domains are the communication and speech domain, the physical domain, the social and emotional domain, the cognitive domain. As a teacher, you would teach, and children must learn to communicate with everyone around them, as well as learning the language. They learn about taking turns in conversation and how to categorize the world around them. This can be extremely difficult if not taught well, and leads to interesting errors. For example, when a child learns that a round object is a ball, they must work out if that means everything round is also called a ball. Is the moon a ball? And why not? It takes time to understand what separates one word from another. The physical domain, where the body increases in skill and performance over time, going through gross motor development, learning to use a large muscle such as the arms and legs, and fine motor development, learning to use muscles to make precise movements such as the hands and the fingers. Where the social and emotional domain, where children's identities, self-images, and perceptions of feelings evolve as they grow. They also develop relationships with others and learn how to socialize and follow social etiquette. In cognitive domain, which is the cognitive process, are higher level of functions for the brain, including thinking, knowing, remembering, judging, and problem solving. As they develop, children increase their understanding of the world, improve their memory, gain better concentration, and refine their problem-solving skills. Age-appropriate activities for children. Take a look at this picture. These are a bunch of adults having lots of fun doing river rafting together. Even though adults are present, that doesn't mean you would put and place a child in the middle of them. That still doesn't make it age-appropriate for them. Same technique should apply in the classroom. Not each activity would be appropriate for each child. One thing to remember as a teacher, as well as a childcare provider, that regardless activity is age appropriate or not. You are always to make sure that you are supervising the child. These are some of the examples of age appropriate activities that you can do in your classroom or outside of your classroom. When a child is working with Play-Doh, make sure you always remind the child not to put anything in their mouth, as well as supervise them at the same time. There's some chalk, hopscotch, and light exercise going on, along with some water play, which includes some blocks at the same time. There's some coloring, but I'm sure an adult will supervise the child to make sure that no marker or crayons would go in their mouth. The activities has to be age appropriate and always should be kept in mind. Young children learn through playing. Hence, it is important that we choose the right child games so that children develop the right values that you hope they will learn. As children play with toys with one another and with adults, they acquire and improve the skill necessary for formal learning in later stages of their lives. Select games or toy-based children's interests and developmental needs in your classroom. Any child game selected should be designed for interaction, keeping children engaged in the ways they learn best through seeing, hearing, touching, and trying. Below 12 months, at this stage, you would consider providing games that develop eye-hand coordination, motor skills and recognition of animals, objects, colors, shapes, and numbers. 12 to 24 months, which is about 2 years, start introducing activities that are done in sequence and those that will increase attention span. Your toddler can now play games that require him or her to follow simple directions. Let your children learn to match things that go together as he or she starts to recognize letters, numbers, colors, and shapes. This is also a good time for the children to learn to make music. 2 years and up, as your children grow, provide them with activities that develop self-confidence, encourage thinking skills, and those that strengthen social skills. Continue to fine-tune their motor skills and expand their vocabulary. You can also play games that help strengthen their memory skills. Now, one thing to remember, children does not know how to play. In order for them to do everything correct and accurate, you would have to not only introduce, but always participate with them. The following are examples of child games for different aspects of your children's development. Develop eye-hand coordination and motor skills by stacking toys, using shape sorters, activity links gym, pounding toys, lacing toys, and pull toys. Thinking and creative skills would include Legos, building blocks, art materials, Play-Dohs, gears, puppets, dress-up, or props. Mathematical thinking skills would include Monopoly, construction toys, pretend and play calculator like cash register. Logical deductive skill would be Clue, checkers. Imagination would be pretend play, doll houses. Problem-solving skills would include puzzles and brain teasers. Develop self-confidence would include roller skates, scooter. Strengthen social skills would include pretend play with other children and sports. Physical fitness would be sports, hula hoop, gymnast, hop ball. Baby play. During the first 3 months of life, a baby will enjoy colorful toys and pictures. Watching the movement of toys and listening to soothing music will be most pleasing at this age. There are literally thousands of different toys available for infants. Cheerful toys such as stuffed animals and pillows can be a wonderful way to brighten your baby's day. Just make sure they do not sleep with them. Also remember, never place these items in the crib as they can cause suffocation. 1 to 3 months old is our very first developmental stage. Rattles and musical toys, soft squeeze toys and balls, where balls should be at least 1 3/4 inches or 44 millimeters in diameter. Unbreakable mirrors, teethers, bright pictures, talking and singing to your infant, especially during the diaper change. That interaction is always going to keep a baby feel safe and interactive. Pleasant facial expression would also make them have a great day in your classroom. 4 to 7 months old developmental stage, where 4 to 7 months of age, a baby will show an increasing interest in shaking, holding, touching, and mouthing objects. Manipulating objects to produce movement and noise will also begin. Rattles and musical toys, soft squeeze toys and balls, where again, balls should be at least 1 3/4 inches or 44 millimeters in diameter. Unbreakable mirrors, teethers, bright pictures, toys which have holes for easy gripping. Soft baby books made of vinyl or cloth. Interlocking plastic rings, floor gyms, a jumper to bounce in. Another way to make sure that child's toys are child age appropriate, you can always use a toilet paper roll to make sure that it doesn't pass through that. If it does, then this is not age appropriate and should not be given to the child. 8 to 12 months old. By 8 months, an infant will begin to take an interest in exploring the surrounding environment. Motor skills are developing rapidly, and soon she will learn to sit up, crawl about, stand, and eventually walk. Playing with objects, using them to shake, throw, poke, push, pull, and drop will also occur. Operating simple mechanisms such as pop-up boxes, musical toys, and push-pull toys will provide endless amusement at this age group and entertainment. Musical toys, soft squeeze toys, and balls. Again, balls should be at least 1 3/4 inches or 44 millimeter in diameter. Unbreakable mirrors, teethers, baby books made of cardboard, key rings, sturdy cloth toys, pop-up boxes, containers to empty and fill such as cups and small pails, stackable toys in large sizes, bat toys, large stuffed animals, and push-pull toys. Toddler toys. 1 to 2-year-old. This is one of the favorite age group. At 1 year, a toddler will engage in more active play that includes running, jumping, climbing, and exploring. Toys that can be used in these activities will be preferred. Also, toys for building basic structures will be enjoyed. Big balls for throwing and kicking, drawing and coloring books, large picture books, push-pull toys, building blocks, bath toys, play clothing, dolls, make-believe toys like dinner sets and tools, peekaboo games, wagons, miniature lawn mowers, shopping carts, and baby strollers. This age group always like to be going. You want to make sure that these children are entertained as well as busy and interacted with. Preschool play, 3 to 5-year-old. From 3 to 5 years of age, a child will begin to enjoy more imaginative and creative play. Building recognizable structures and using smaller and more complex pieces will be preferred. Group play will become more important too. As interactive and communication skills develop, she will begin to show more interest in toys that can be shared with other children. Picture books, basic musical instruments, dolls and stuffed toys, storybooks, simple puzzles, non-toxic arts and crafts, construction toys, sand and water toys, toy telephones, 3 and 4-wheel riding toys with a helmet, roller skates with a helmet, playground. Positive guidance and discipline. You guys, please pay more attention, as some of the things that we can or cannot do at our own house with our own children may not be allowed within childcare. Child development research supports that physical punishment such as pinching, shaking, or hitting children teaches them that hitting or hurting others is an acceptable way to control unwanted behavior or get what they want. Children will also mimic adults who demonstrate loud or violent behavior. Rapping, thumping, popping, yanking, and flicking a child are all examples of corporal punishment. You must never withhold active play from a child who misbehaves. As example, keeping a child indoors with another caregiver while the rest of the children go outside, or making a child sit out of active play in the afternoon for a behavior that occurred in the morning. However, if a child is exhibiting poor behavior during active play, you may separate the child from the group to allow the child to settle down before resuming cooperative play or activities. A body language will tell you how the child is being disciplined. Picture on the left is very different from the picture on the right. A discipline must be individualized and consistent for each child, appropriate to the child's level of understanding, directed towards teaching the child acceptable behavior and self-control, and a positive method of discipline and guidance that encourages self-esteem, self-control, and self-direction, including the following: using praises, encouragement of good behavior instead of focusing only upon unacceptable behavior. Reminding a child of behavior expectations daily throughout the day by using clear and positive statements. Redirecting behavior using positive statements and using brief supervised separation or timeout from the group when appropriate for the child's age and development, which is limited to no more than 1 minute per year of the child's age. There should be no harsh, cruel, or unusual treatment of any child. The following types of discipline and guidance are prohibited: corporal punishment or threats of corporal punishment, punishment associated with food, snaps, or toilet training, pinching, shaking, or biting a child, hitting a child with a hand or instrument, putting anything in or on child's mouth, humiliating, ridiculing, rejecting, or yelling at child, subjecting a child to harsh, abusive, or profane language, placing a child in a locked or dark room, bathroom, or closet, withholding active play or keeping a child inside, therefore, for behavior unless the child is exhibiting behavior during active play that requires a brief supervised separation or time out that is consistent with the subchapter, relating to what methods of discipline and guidance may a caregiver use, requiring a child to remain silent or inactive for inappropriately long periods of time for the child's age, including requiring a child to remain in a restrictive device, such as high chairs, a crib or car seat, a bouncy, a swing, or anything else that would restrain them from moving or getting up. An ideal teacher would always foster children's self-esteem, help them learn to do things by themselves. At every age, there are new things for kids to learn, so there are endless possibilities. When teaching kids how to do things, show and help them at first and then give them room to breathe and do it themselves. Praise your child, but to do it wisely. Be a good role model for them. Ban harsh criticism. Focus on their strengths rather than weaknesses. Let kids help and give help. Supervision and safety practices in the care of children. You guys, this is one of the most common mistakes that is made on a daily basis by teachers. Take a look at the pictures onto your right-hand side. The one on top shows you there are two teachers present while caring for children. There is absolutely no supervision as those two teachers are not directly looking at the children. They're both doing domestic work and looking away from the children. In order for this to be a proper supervision, one of them or both of them should be looking directly at the children. If it helps you any, you can always take turns doing domestic work and have one teacher present at all times focusing on children. Taking turn is something we'll also make sure that it is fair among the teachers to make sure who does the domestic work as well as interaction with the children. They can also stand in a way where both could be also looking at the children while doing the domestic work. The one picture below, you can see how the one teacher that is in the classroom is sitting with the children, which is called proper supervision. She's interactive as well as having fun conversation with them. What is effective supervision in childcare? Actively engaging with children to support their learning. Effective supervision requires a combination of observation and engagement. Observing children's play and anticipating what may occur next allows educators to assist children as difficulties arise and to intervene when there is a potential danger to children. So basically, a proper supervision is whenever, as soon as you are noticing the child is in danger, you're able to see it, you're able to hear it, and you're able to intervene and help the child from the danger. If there is no proper supervision, such care cannot be provided. What are some of the principles of good supervision in childcare? Knowing we should always be aware of how many children we are supervising, activities they're doing, equipment they're using. Listening, the unusual sounds like crying, silence, sounds that can tell what is happening. Scanning, always watching kids' activities and should always looking around. Positive interaction with children. What is a positive relationship in childcare? Positive relationships are based on trust, transparency, and mutual respect. They require two-way communication, listening, responding, and finding creative solutions together, not just providing information. A teacher communicating with children, children communicating with teacher. Relationship-based working is about being warm, supportive, and empathetic. As an ideal teacher, you should always be humble and open to interacting and listening with your children. With positive interaction in mind, take a look at these pictures. I'm sure you see nothing but positive interaction from a teacher as well as children. A teacher is sitting down their eye level at all times. Is fifth circle time in infant room, or a music time in toddler's room, or some manipulatives in another classroom. or just floor time. You are not only sitting with them, you're interacting with them, and you are participating. When a teacher participates, the room really comes together. A child can also feel lonely and could want an adult friend to actually guide them how to do anything in the world. As an ideal teacher, interacting with them, as well as sitting at their eye level and interacting with them, would be an ideal thing to do. Preventing and controlling the spread of communicable diseases, including immunizations. Learn these healthy habits to protect not only yourself but children around you from disease and prevent germs and infectious diseases from spreading. Handle and prepare food safely. Our teachers are required by the City of Fort Worth to take a food handlers class. This class will go in depth with you on how to handle and prepare food safely in a clean environment. Washing hands often is also required. As a teacher, you would first put away your belongings and go to the sink and wash your hands before touching and starting your class. You would also want this habit to be followed by children as well, putting away belongings and then washing their hands before touching the activities. Clean and disinfect commonly used surfaces such as tables, chairs, trash cans, shelves, sinks. You should always keep that in mind, that you can always disinfect throughout the day during the work. Cough and sneeze into your sleeve. Don't share personal items. Get vaccinated. At our center, we do not require our teachers to have the COVID vaccine. But if that is something you choose to do, that can always be a bonus to keep you and others healthy around you. Recognizing and preventing shaken baby syndrome and abusive head trauma, and understanding the need of not shaking a baby. No sudden moves, always making sure you are embracing their neck, especially infants. They are very sensitive. Their body is not fully grown yet. You've got to make sure that you're always very calm with your movements and embracing that neck. You guys, these are some really good images that showing you that how severe this problem is and is overlooked at the same time. In our childcare, this is something we do not do, and we will always be there to guide you if you ended up overlooking at one where this can result in this. One of the most common mistakes that we see is when an infant not being held properly, who does not know how to hold their own neck. You always got to put your hand below their neck and their head, embracing it while picking them up. Using safe sleep practices and preventing sudden infant death syndrome, which is called SIDS. This is something that our teachers are required to do a separate training, which you will be doing one if you are going to be working with infants. You will have a certificate at the end of the training, but altogether, everyone in the daycare would need to actually know about the sudden infant death syndrome. This is where you would have to place babies on their backs and only on their backs to sleep, especially the ones that actually cannot roll over from the tummy to the back and from the back to the tummy. It has to be a whole 360 all on their own. If they cannot do one or the other, you cannot have them sleep on their tummies. You have to make sure you put them back on their back if they did roll over on their own during the sleep. Yes, it is inconvenient because the child would wake up and all that. There may be some parents that are putting their children to sleep on the tummy, and that is probably why the child wants to sleep on their tummy. But as an ideal teacher, you would want to educate the parent and also let them know this is something that you would not allow because of SIDS. Tummy sleeping can really cause them to suffocate and die. Back sleeping will give them much needed room to breathe while asleep. Another thing you cannot do is have stuffed animals or certain other items in the crib. It should be just the child and a tight-fitted crib sheet on a mattress. You cannot also give them the pacifiers that has the attached animal. Per licensing, there will be a $250 fine, and that's something that we actually charge our teachers so that way they understand and take this a lot more seriously. So no passies with no stuffed animals attached. A string is also avoidable. Try not to give them no string attached passies either. take the string off, and then give them the pacifier. Understanding early childhood brain development. This right here is just showing you an idea that how a child's brain develops throughout the time, anywhere from birth all the way up to the age of 5. Take a look at it. Take in that how an infant energizes from their food and develop the brain growth. And then how a toddler grows and becomes increasingly independent and interested in new things, where the other toddler imitates behavior of others, especially adults and older children. Loving and consistent caregiving leads to a brain that has an ability to learn, to delay gratification, problem solve, and have empathy for others. And a good nutrition leads to more stable moods, increases in ability to pay attention, and improved memory. By the age 1, infants typically understand about 70 words, but speaks only a handful of them. At 18 months, a toddler's spoken vocabulary starts to explode. They add 1 new word every 2 waking hours. By 2 years, most toddlers have a 300-word vocabulary and are putting together simple 2-word sentences. Positive experiences for building the young brain. An ideal teacher would always include loving care and touch, consistent individual attention, everyday simple activities being offered. They expose to new experiences, understand child development, talking, music, control the amount of televisions being watched. By the way, per minimum standards under the age of 2, there shouldn't be any TV viewing at all. Balance, pay attention to the whole child. Read and respond to child's cues. One size does not fit all. Try not to treat all children in one way, as they are not alike. Know child and what he or she is capable of doing. All right, you guys, you have reached the end. All I'm going to say is that, yes, there is a lot to intake, but this is where your director and assistant director, as well as your team members, are there for. We will always remind you if you are falling behind or missing a step or two. The key is to be consistent and willing to learn and treat each individual child with passion. You can never go wrong with that. We hope that you find this training helpful and you find the passion you are looking for via these trainings. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your director, as well as the minimum standard, which there should be a copy in your break room. Thank you, and you have a wonderful day.